Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die.
Here we are once again.
Once again to your Thursday night talks. I want to first start off in the most holy name of Allah, bearing witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So, as you all saw, this is part 2 of our health. Right. Our health is our truest wealth. You know, I was just listening to Charlemagne the God, and he was talking about, you know, how people are not tied into money anymore as the actual identity of life. Everybody is so into, like, you know, getting healthy, what healthy looked like at age 50 and age 60 and age 70. And, you know, everybody's on these regimens. Now, do they work? Don't know. However, I know with our teachings, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan always instructed us to go to our How to Eat to Live because it helps save lives. In addition to that, we always had what we call the we call it the what we call this when we back in the pandemic days, Brother Tony.
Allah. I don't know. Take 2 of these and call us in the morning.
Right, take 2 of these and call us in the morning. So we're going to be uplifting these 2 wonderful and life-saving books in our show on today. And with that being said, I am going to turn it over to you, Brother Tony.
All praise is due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness to the oneness of Allah who came in the person of Master Father Muhammad, the Supreme Being, to whom holy praises are forever due. I am forever thankful to Almighty God Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I thank them both for the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, Barghani, Hotep, Free the Land, Buenas noches, Sakpase, greetings in all the beautiful greetings that our people greet each other in, and we greet you in those great greetings right now. Welcome to Thursday Night Talks, spearheaded by the 7th Region Coalition to Help Save Lives. We were assembled by our student regional minister here in the 7th region of the Nation of Islam, Student Minister Patrick Muhammad. Soon after the criterion message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we were assembled to guide our people to safety. Well, we're still doing that right now. We're dealing with not just a pandemic of ailments, but also a pandemic of misinformation. As Sister Kalila mentioned earlier, um, guiding people to better health. That is so key right now, because if we are not guided to better health, Sister Kalila, we could be making a whole lot of money, but you can't really like spend your money or make a whole lot of money when you're dead.
That's right.
Sorry.
That's
So
right.
if you're not living in optimum health, if you're not living good health, you can't really make a whole lot of money. You're not going to be making much money at all like that. So, beloved family, we are looking forward to our wonderful and awesome guest this evening, who's going to be answering a lot of questions. If you have any questions for our sister tonight, please prepare them, post them in the chat. And Sister Kalila, when we have ownership over this here, because this is not just Thursday night talk, it's your Thursday night talk.
That's right.
What are we to do in share when we want to share information with our people here on social media? We want to um, share, um, copy the URL, send it to a couple of friends and family. We want to subscribe. We want to click the share button on Facebook, on YouTube, and get it to as many able bodies as possible, able minds as possible, as we are first affecting minds, which if the body submits to the mind, uh, then now we could affect many more lives. But this is about submission.
Mm.
Beloved family, Sister Kalila, at the end of the day, it is, because we could be receiving information, but the question is, what are we going to be doing with that information? And so when we have wonderful and awesome guidance given to us, at the end of the day, the question is, what are we going to do? Are we just going to be in the valley of decision and maybe do things halfway here, halfway there? We can't afford that in this hour. We need to adhere to right guidance. And the right guidance that we're striving to provide for our people is through the 9 ministries given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. 9 ministries that are all geared towards finding our purpose in life. 9 ministries all oriented towards guiding our people to better health, wealth, and truly a better state of being. And so tonight we're focusing on the Ministry of Health and Human Services. The Ministry of Health and Human Services provides for the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of the members of the society. The goal of the Ministry of Health is the fulfillment of the intention of the Creator for every human being to achieve his or her potential for both longevity and good health throughout life. Its efforts extend to the family and the community as well as the individual. And so, with that, we look forward to Brother Mark introducing our esteemed guest for this evening, who is no stranger to Thursday Night Talks. This is part 2 of our beloved sister joining us. Brother Mark. Brother Mark?
Yes, sir.
All
praise is due to Allah.
You got a little delay,
Can you
beloved?
hear me?
Yes. You have a little delay?
I think so.
Okay, yes, sir.
Dr. Christina Parks has earned her PhD in cellular and molecular biology from the University of Michigan. She is a well-known national speaker on issues of medical freedom who has stood up to expose the truth regarding medical interventions that have been pushed on the Black communities in the United States and worldwide. Her passion is to use her deep scientific knowledge to identify the root causes that throw our bodies out of balance and therefore lead to dysfunction and disease. She brings a wealth of knowledge, helping others to understand what key factors must be addressed to protect and recover their health, with a special emphasis on issues affecting melanated people. So she can be reached on Twitter at Dr. C. Parks1, Telegram, t.me/Christina Parks, and Facebook, Christina Parks, Christina.parks.752, and on Instagram at Epigenetic Healing. Let us bring to our Thursday night talks once again for part 2, our dear sister, Dr. Christina Parks. Bring her on.
Dr. Christina, it is such a
Walaikum salam. You know what? The beautiful thing about my sister, I love her so very, very, very much. It just words cannot describe how much I love this sister. Look, she does email calls. You know how when people say they do house calls, she does email calls.
Unfortunately for me.
And it was so funny because the last show, of course, if you all saw it, I was so distraught about all the things that I thought I was doing right, and turns out I was not doing so right. And and the beautiful thing about our sister, she does research. She is not anything that comes out of her mouth. If she says it, she did the research. And of course, I get all these people that after the fact, oh, I don't think that's right. I say, sister, brother, whatever it is, I believe this sister is spot on, and I guarantee you, she has the receipts to prove it. So I thank you just for being you. I mean, I just don't. And a lot of people are fighting against the fact that it's time for a change. We have been living in this world that we feel like, from having sunflower seeds to having plugins, that's the everyday life. I'm just being honest. And they don't know, oh, all of a sudden I have a stage 2 cancer, or I have, I have
or I'm
breast
infertile.
cancer, unfertile, things of that nature. How did it happen? How did it occur all of a sudden? It's these things that has been going on in the air, because the first thing that we get diseases from is our nose. You have to inhale it in order to receive it, and through our mouths, of course. And we're going to go through all of that. And again, I thank, sister, I thank you for your transparency. I thank you for being unapologetic to save our lives. So with that being said, we're going to get it started, because we have a lot of questions here. And I think the key element is really getting to know what you need to do when you need to do it. And when you need to do it is right now. Okay.
And that's for all of us, including myself, because I'm every day. I mean, I'm at a certain point, but it's never enough, especially under what we're facing. Right. Where I'm like, because I know better, right. But I'm human too. I want the treat occasionally. So I'm not a perfect human being. It's just that at least I know what I should be doing, and I have the clarity of that. So I know when I'm misstepping.
And I think, honestly, I'm just being honest with you. And, as we used to say it back in the day, shame the devil. Everybody is aware of that concept. Everybody is aware of what they should be doing. The problem is the application. It's not happening. We can read. I'm talking about, a lot of us are scholars as it relates to How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2. We'll tell you right offhand, oh, no, you don't eat that. No, it's, or what they will do is quote, well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that you should be eating this or you shouldn't be eating that, but never, ever apply what it's saying in the book. So again, that's where a lot of obesity comes from. There's where a lot of the hypertension comes from, because again, we're not applying what is in the book. We know it.
Right.
but we're not applying it.
And I think that is where some of the scientific knowledge can be helpful. I know it is actually helpful to me when I do research these. Like I have an idea that, yes, this is good or this is bad. And I always want the receipts. So I go deeper. And like the things I found out about fasting, the things, when you actually see what it's doing in your body, because sometimes we think, oh, well, maybe it's a minor thing. We think of it as a rule rather than something that has the power to transform our health. And if we realized how much better we would feel, and that is really, and I want to start with this too, why I'm here, because many people are, I know some people that are really very, very compliant, extremely compliant, but they have misinterpreted things or missed things, or there are some elements of their health where it doesn't directly address that issue, like the sunflower seeds and how many you can have, where they don't know that science. And so it's sabotaging everything else that they're doing and they don't realize it. And so if I can help them, if you're doing 80% right, but like 2% of what you're doing is sabotaging the 80% and you don't even realize why, then I want to encourage people when they kind of just make that minor correction, they could see really transformative change in their body and their health and how they feel in their susceptibility to things. And of course, there's more, because we are under so much attack that many people are actually ill or struggling with many conditions. And so they need guidance on what routes are safe, because, under ideal circumstances, eat to live would be enough. But sometimes you need to deal with things like COVID or whatever it is if you're ill.
Right. And I want to ask this key question, since we are talking about how to eat to live. What are some of the common things people miss in eating to live that is important to health amplification?
So one of the most common things that I think people miss is that your bread should be sourdough. Your bread should be sourdough. And the reason why is that in both milk and bread, there are some large proteins that are hard to digest. And in milk, it's casein, but in raw milk, it has the enzymes to digest it for you. So it's not likely to be as problematic. In bread, it's gluten and gliadin. And when you do we call it sourdough now. Before, he says sour your bread. And I've actually had people say it doesn't say that. And I'm like, I know it says that because I was looking to see what he would say about this, what he would say about this, when I read it, because I wasn't in the nation at the time. I was just coming in as a food scientist to see what he would say. And so I'm like, okay, yep. And then there were some issues where I was like, I'm not sure what to think about this. And when he came down on this side, I'm like, I'm going to go with that then, Right. But we need to break down those large proteins to make the bread easier to digest. And when you do fermentation, it releases a lot of things called B vitamins. It actually helps to stabilize the structure of the bread. It actually helps the bread to remain fresh for longer. And it puts a lot of these B vitamins are really necessary for energy, for metabolism, for your gut-brain connection, for your mental clarity. And so that fermentation of the bread is extremely important for its digestibility and its nutrient content. And so I see very few believers at all, like I haven't really seen it hardly at all, eating sourdough bread or bread that's been soured. So I think that is a big one, because if it is a mainstay of our diet, it needs to be prepared correctly, especially because our guts have been compromised by so many different factors, which is a whole nother conversation, that many people are in a compromised state to begin with. So that is one of the biggest things that I see. Let me think for a minute. When another one comes up, I'll probably hop in here.
What about beans?
The other one is, if you are moving to one meal a day, many people aren't doing one meal a day, drinking any kind of sweetened beverage during the day. Now, we are allowed to have one coffee or tea in the morning with a little bit of fat in it. And, if you read that, that's consistent. But if you are doing coffee throughout the day, if it has, I don't even think you should be doing anything really but water throughout the day. Now, I'm not going to make that hard and fast, but especially if it's sweetened, you are spiking your insulin and you are working your digestive system and your pancreas. And so many people it's like we think we're following the guidance, but we're not, we're struggling with it. So the point isn't like, I like it when people tell me that they're struggling, not because they're struggling, but because we have to be honest. If we're not honest about what we're struggling with, we can't fix it. If we're all pretending to be doing it right, but we're really not, because these are real struggles. Like when people come say, yeah, I eat at 4 and then at 10, I'm rummaging through the cabinet. And I'm like, I've been there, so we need to develop strategies. If Islam is science, then there are scientific strategies to help pull us into line. And I also very much believe in scaffolding people into where they need to be. So it's not like, do it 100% correct or don't do it at all. And one of those things in getting to 1 meal a day, I would say as with much of the intermittent fasting that's going on, to shorten your eating window. So many people are eating a breakfast and then a dinner. I said, no breakfast. You'd be better to do a window from 12 to 8, and then from 2 to 8, and then from 4 to 8. And do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I don't do that fasting window perfectly. It's very hard to, with your different schedules and running around and, like I'm, it's 4 o'clock and I have a minute to shove something in my mouth, but I don't have a minute to eat a whole meal. And then I get back home and it's 8. Well, am I not going to eat, or am I going to eat now? So, but if you can think of it as a window, the shorter the window, the better, from 4 to 6. But if you have 4 to 8, you are still accruing probably 80 to 90% of the benefits. Whereas if you are eating a meal in the morning, you're accruing almost none of the benefits. So the shorter your eating window, and if like one day you have a longer eating window, maybe it's 6 hours, but the next day it's 2 hours, fine, because it's not a perfect world and we eat every day, But if you can think of always trying to kind of reduce that eating window and say, oh, I'm at this thing and I know I'm going to eat it too because we're meeting with, whoever, and we're all going out to eat. Well, just have that eating window from 2 to 6, make sure the last thing that you're eating is 6 or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So the smaller your eating window, the more you can sort of narrow down your compliance to that. Some of us have a lifestyle that makes it very easy to keep that 4 to 6 window, but other people really don't.
Thank you. Okay. One more thing. I know that in How to Eat to Live, we talk about the beans, but more so talking about these peas. Can you kind of expound? Because there's some indication that we can eat some peas, some indication that we can't eat no peas, some indication that we can eat the small pea.
So I don't have all the answers to that, but I've been concerned about peas before I read Eat to Live. So let me break it down. So one of the things that when I read Eat to Live, there is some overarching guidance. And the guidance is 1, what is unclean or toxic, right?
Right.
2, can it be made clean or digestible, right? Or actually 2, I want to say, is it digestible? Is it digestible and absorbable? And then 3, can it be changed to either be made clean, which in some cases like pork, that can't even happen. But is there something you can do to make it either clean or more digestible? And so those are the things we're thinking about. So in the terms of peas, the issue, like some foods, the issue is toxicity. But with peas, the issue is digestibility. So the proteins in peas are just too hard to digest. One of the things that with like the onset of the vegan diet that people have said, they will break down and say this particular plant food has all these different nutrients and all these vitamins. And I'm like, yeah, but none of them are bioavailable. Your body can't even break it down to absorb that. And nobody's really talking about that. So that is also the case with the soybean, which is both toxic and indigestible. So it is not like really fit for human consumption. So most peas and things like that are not fit for human consumption. That's a little bit different than beans. Now, lentils, I think, fall at the at the juncture between them. So lentils are probably easier to eat. However, this is an area, because we are scientists, where we need more science. I have questions in sort of tweaking it down, because we don't have guidance on every single thing. So that's where, like with the sunflower seeds, they're permissible. If you think something is permissible, fine, but like you might not want to make it a mainstay of the diet, because we've gotten very clear guidance on what should be the mainstay of the diet. But if we are going to take that guidance, we can't be buying Wonder Bread.
Right.
I mean, I doubt very many believers are buying Wonder Bread, but are they souring their bread? Most of them probably are not, right?
Right.
So we need to look at, and then there are many people who are sensitive to gluten, sensitive to dairy. So I'm not saying they should force themselves to eat those things, but I'm saying that there are some things that we have clear guidance that are okay. And so we shouldn't take something that's in that questionable range and sort of make it the mainstay of our diet.
Praises be to Allah. Thank you.
Dr. Christine, I do have a question. And this is a big one, because soy is big business in this country. It's a cheap flavor enhancer that contains, I hope I'm pronouncing this properly, phytoestrogens, which are plant-based compounds that can mimic estrogen. What is the danger in this when consumed by human beings? Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that it should be used as animal feed.
Right. So, well, we know that those phytoestrogens are going to feminize our boys. And if mom is ingesting those while she's pregnant, it's going to feminize that boy in utero. It's going to be a complete endocrine disruptor in both men and women. And many of the, it's a marketing campaign to try to make them sound like they're good and they can help women in menopause. Many of the compounds in soy are actually just downright toxic. They're just toxic to the body. So they've tried to do a marketing campaign and sort of slant them toward, there might be a few that aren't so bad that can have some beneficial effects, but for the most part, soy is indigestible and is toxic. Now, if you ferment it, it may be more palatable, but why would you take something that is so questionable? And it's cheap, so they put it in all these like Adkin shakes and all of this kind of thing. So you have to be really careful when you have any kind of processed food or diet food or high protein, because they put that in there. And of course, all of our, like they call it vegetable oil, but it's just 100% soy oil, right? But I did have, like, after we met last time, I did have a positive experience. I bought some salad dressing for the store because I needed it for something, which I almost never do. I make all my own salad dressing. And of course, I read the label and I was shocked to find out that the first ingredient was olive oil. The second ingredient was probably canola or something like that. But that was, it's a step in the right direction. They're not going to do all olive oil. It's just too expensive for them at this point, right? But to see that that means they're hearing us. They know that they know all of this soy oil that is in, and that's the thing. If you have mayonnaise, finding a mayonnaise that doesn't have soy oil, finding a salad dressing that doesn't have soy oil. So you might be thinking, I don't eat soy. Oh, yes, you do. Even if you're me and you're trying not to, you probably are eating soy because, and I've seen a lot of the believers with the cheap, processed salad dressings and mayonnaise and things like that. All of that is building up, and it's twofold. Someone said, I just shared a thing on Facebook that said, if you're having chronic illness, maybe 20 to 30% of your diet shouldn't be engine lubricant. And it was about how canola oil was used as engine lubricant. The same with cottonseed oil, which is what Crisco was made out of. So Crisco was made out of cottonseed oil because it was an industrial byproduct. I mean, they had all this cottonseed oil. And they didn't have enough industrial uses for it. So they bleached it and gave it to calves, and the calves died. So they said, well, we'll just give it to people then. So wow. I believe, and this is kind of a good segue to the seed oils, these seed oils, and that was the issue with the sunflower oil seeds. Now, if the only issue were sunflower seeds, it might not be as big an issue, although I think a cup a day or every other day is way too many. But if you had like a quarter cup a week or something, that might be all right. But because we are inundated with these oils, like how do you get oil from corn? Do you know what I mean? Like you couldn't eat enough corn to get very much corn oil. Now, and we know traditional cultures used to, and we'll get to corn in a minute, used to actually, dry the corn and make cornmeal or whatever. But we're getting oils from soy, from corn, from canola, which is like, it's a leaf. How do you get oil from it? Instead of, and I say, stick with your traditional oils, stick with, and there's not a lot of guidance in Eat to Live. So this is my scientific opinion. I'm not trying to say that this is an Eat to Live. I want to be clear about that because I've looked through and it has very little guidance on oils. But I would say stick to traditional oils like olive oil, even, coconut oil, which I've asked about that. No one's really clear, but it's better than the seed oils. And, someone said, well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we could use corn oil. And I want to be very specific. That's very context dependent. He said you can use 2 tablespoons of corn oil in muffins that the temperature never reached above boiling, above 212 degrees. When you heat corn oil, like when you're frying something, which we're not supposed to fry, it breaks down into basically paint varnish. Not good for your body, right? Into all of these really, really toxic byproducts. So, and it's an omega-6. So these seed oils are extremely, extremely inflammatory because we have so many of them, right? If we were eating the corn and the whatever naturally, it wouldn't be an issue. So I want to talk about this because this is my beautiful friend who was eating the sunflower seeds and was having pain. And she was having pain during her fast. And I didn't make the connection. And then I was like, wait a minute. Your cell membranes have to be made of a certain amount of different fats or oils. And this is, I think, when you go to a more vegetarian or vegan type diet, because of all the extra seed oils in our diet, it becomes imbalanced. And if you're eating salmon, you need to be eating wild caught salmon, which can be helpful in replacing the omega-3s. But even then we have to watch because many things have toxins in them because we dump stuff in our oceans or whatever. So there's always this balance that we're trying to do that's really hard to do. But in any case, our cell membranes, when we fast, they actually release parts of our cell membrane as signaling molecules. And these omega-6s from the seed oils, from the sunflower seed, from the corn oil, from the soy oil, I just want to be explicit, these actually signal inflammation all over the body. And so when you fast, you actually could become more inflammatory. Conversely, if you have the right ratio of omega-3s, like a normal ratio, those fatty acids, when you fast, actually signal immune boosting, anti-inflammatory, calming signaling pathways in the body. So this is where what we eat when we're not fasting can have a huge impact. And this is really important because, sometimes you can feel a little deprived or whatever. So you get yourself a bag of chips. Well, even if, and this is where we can get into the snacks, whether you get some sunflower seeds or some chips, almost all of those snacks are high in seed oils. And this is where I know, and you put a bag of corn chips in front of me, I'm like, yeah, this is killing me. And a friend of mine's like, I'm not helping you with your Eat to Live sin, I know. And everyone goes, well, I can have my organic corn chips. No, I'm sorry to tell you. I'm not going to take a chip out of your hand on the 4th of July, but, I might take it from you and eat it, but I know. And then when I'm inflammatory, I'll be like, you know better. So I would love to see, when you're talking about starting a business, first people have to understand what we are supposed to be eating in terms of the sourdough bread. And it says we should toast our bread. Well, ideally, what I would love to see is people make like a naan bread that's nice and thin. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the Indian bread, because it's nice and thin. It can cook through, right? And it can be sourdough. And then you could cut that up into little pita slices, season them, and have yourself a little pita chip.
There you go.
Somebody needs to generate a business like that. and sell these sourdough non-pita chips to us so that we can feel good. You can also either buy or make your own sourdough bread. And before my sourdough bread would go bad, I would cut it up into little chunks and throw it with some olive oil and some seasoning and some salt, throw it in the oven and make croutons and have those as a crunchy snack.
Look at that. Dr. Christina, I do have a follow-up question on the question I had about soy, though.
So I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. Because I always wondered about this. When you do a Google search on soy, what you just mentioned right now, you used to find it on if you Googled it, but now there's like such a huge amount of information out there that's just
Marketing.
Right, exactly. Eclipse this information that you just mentioned right now as soy being a hormone disruptor. Is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the time of what must be done talks about the transgenic seed. Is there a big difference between, even if it's organic here in the United States, is there a big difference between the soy here in the United States and the soy that you would find in Asia, in Asian countries like in China? Because they've been eating soy products for many years.
Ever.
No, they have not.
I'm not advocating here for us to get excited and go to Asia like, hey, yeah, their soy is different. I'm just asking, is there a difference from your experience or your studies?
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, organic soy or organic anything that is not GMO, that's not genetically modified, is going to be way less problematic. But I do want to correct you. As far as I know, and I did research this, those cultures did not eat a lot of soy. The only one that ate soy was people who could not afford anything else. And when they would go in the fields and eat the soybeans before they became hard, before they dried, the endeme. But it's better to get toxic and not have a great life than to starve to death tomorrow. So most of the soy that they ate was fermented, either as tofu or as soy sauce. Soy itself, like we have hydrolyzed soy protein or soy protein and stuff, was not really eaten, and it was used as animal feed. So I do want to clarify that.
Thank you for that. Yes. Brother, Sister Kalila?
It's me? Oh, no,
yeah, you're up, Sister Kalila.
All right. So, we pretty much discussed the time periods, the prescribed time periods between 4 and 6. And again, I know I work a 10-hour shift Monday through Thursday, but it seems like around 2:30, my stomach gets so angry at me because it's like, hey, why you not putting anything in my stomach? Why is it important, that, Allah God prescribed to us to eat between the hours of 4 and 6?
Well, you want to have as short the eating window as possible, but you want to have a certain number of hours before bedtime. And I know if I eat early, and sometimes I do eat a little bit earlier, like at 3, at 10 I can be hungry. So I think there's a lot of circadian things that go on, and I can't get into all of those because they're a little bit complex, but that is actually the best window, is about 4 to 6. Now, again, because we have to do this every day with changing schedules, just trying to keep that window short. And I would say there's a couple of things you can do. You can, I think it's okay to drink some water, then, and see if that helps. But I find that, like, when I have tea or coffee in the morning, that might be when you optimize your metabolism, you will be hungry less.
Okay.
Now, most of the time I eat is not because I'm really hungry. It's because I want to put something in my mouth. So I know like green tea can really help with that. There are certain hormones. One, you've heard about these GLP, semaglutide, Ozempic. Those are a hormone called GLP-1, and adding it to your body is a really bad idea. But your body makes it naturally. And when you optimize your microbiome, and when you give your body things that are in things like coffee and good teas, but not like in like when people get some huge latte thing with syrup in it, that is not what we were talking about in Eat to Live.
That's dessert.
Right.
Yeah, that's dessert, and you're rationalizing it, right? But I have found, and when I fast, usually I'm not hungry at all. So what it means is there's still something that you need to tweak. And I think that this is important because a lot of people feel like, my gosh, this is hard, and it's going to be hard for the rest of my life.
Mm.
And I'm here to tell you that when we get this right, it won't be hard.
Mm.
When your body is healthy, it's not hard. Now, many people are unhealthy and then they have to push through. And so that's why I want to help tweak and get people on the right track and then scaffold them. And there may be other things that we need to do. There are certain systems in the body that, like, I'm on some supplements that are all natural that activate them because we've been so messed up that we need a lot of help getting our bodies back on. But when your body's back on track, you shouldn't have to be hungry. Now, if you are, don't deny it and be like, I shouldn't be hungry. Be like, I wonder what it is I need to tweak. Is it that I need more liquids? Do I need to try maybe switching to a green tea? Is it what I'm eating the day before? Am I getting enough carbs? Did I get enough bean soup? That's a big one. I noticed when I was eating more bean soup and healthy carbs, like maybe potatoes or something the night before, I was able to make it more. So if you're trying to do a keto diet without your bean soup, then you may be struggling. But I don't want to be like, try to make people feel like they have to be perfect. Because the truth is, like, we're all under hot mess stuff going on with our microbiome and everything. So that's why I always talk to people personally and see if I can figure out what's going on. But like, don't judge yourself like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad person because I'm hungry. Because there's a lot of things that could be going on there. But the underlying point is, as we learn to grow more into balance, this is not a teaching that is self-denial. This is a teaching that is supposed to bring health and clarity and wellness. And I know before I even joined the nation, I had started practicing Eat to Live. And I did it because I knew it was right and would make me feel better. All right. I have long since thrown discipline out the window. And because discipline is first external, then you internalize it and you yell at yourself the way your parent yelled at you.
Right.
Then you realize the truth of the principle behind it and you embody it, and there's no need to beat yourself up anymore. Right? You treat your neighbor as yourself because you're coming from a place of love, not because your dad told you to be nice to the neighbor.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, and when you start realizing, when you learn to love yourself and when it works, then you realize, oh, this is what love feels like. But we have so much coming in on us that if it's not working for you, it can feel like just another stressor in your life. And that's, I mean, and to me, I'm like, I'm not just doing this for me, and it makes me feel good. I'm not like stressing through it, but like, people need to see an example of vibrancy. People need to see and know what's possible. And so by Allah's grace and mercy, I hope to help to be an example, not of perfection,
yes, ma'am,
but of wholeness.
Yes, ma'am.
All praises due to Allah. Dr. Christina, one of the most misunderstood yet commonly used terms is the word food. The definition of food is any nutritious substance that people eat or drink in order to maintain life and growth.
Nutritious.
So that term has been misused to apply to certain things that are not really food. So my question to you is this: what are some examples of so-called foods that contain excess sugar? And please describe the ill effects and health risks of consuming too much sugar.
Yeah, that was what I meant to say when you asked me where are people, what are they missing? Is we know we're not supposed to eat a lot of sugar, but we all do it anyway, and we just look the other way. I mean, you know, I mean, even bean pie's got a lot of sugar, and I'm not like trying to trash people's bean pie, but we need to stop excusing you eating it whenever, because it's a lot of sugar. I mean, when I saw how much sugar was in there, I was like, oh, that's a lot of sugar. So,
Dr. Christina, I can't eat a whole bean pie for dinner. I mean, it's made out of beans, right?
I've eaten a little one for dinner.
I'm telling you.
The bean pie is better than a Twix bar or something, right? But let's not get it twisted in terms of the amount of sugar. So, like, I mean, there's sugar in everything, and this is also my downfall, is wanting something sweet. So one of the misconceptions that I want people to understand is that high cholesterol and heart disease is caused by sugar. You have been lied to in it being told that it caused by fat. It's not caused by fat at all. If it is caused by fat, it is caused by these engine lubricant oils like Crisco that have actually been substituted, margarine and all of these seed oils. Those cause inflammation, as does sugar. So heart disease and coronary artery disease are caused by inflammation led either by these seed oils or by sugar or by both. So, I mean, yeah, like I don't buy anything in the cereal aisle. I don't, buy, I mean, I do eat treats, but I try to be like pretty specific, which doesn't make it like that much better. But if it's processed and it has sugar, it's probably crap, so don't convince yourself otherwise. I'm not sure if that really answers. I know, let me tell you. So the other day I was making, here's the thing. I was making a casserole with all garden vegetables. I had my potatoes, I had my cabbage, I had my onions, pepper, garlic, all of it. And then I was browning some beef to put on top of it. And the recipe called for a can of like nacho cheese soup. And I had gone to the store and I'd read the ingredients and picked the one that was the least bad. I thought, if I'm doing everything else right, fine, I can do a quick thing. I opened the can and poured that into a bowl to mix with some milk. And I just looked at it. I said, like, what is this? And I was like, no, there is no way I am putting this in my body. So I had to put some butter in there, put some flour, make a roux, pour some milk, make, a milk sauce, grate some cheese, add some cheese, make my whole own sauce to put it on there. But when I mean, because it's so very few and far between, it's probably been years. And I was just like, I can't put this in my body. Like, what is it even?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not sure if I answered your question, and because there's so many things with sugar, Brother Mark, but sugar is really the driver of most of our diseases, but they don't want to tell you that because of marketing.
Right.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Christina, we do have a question from the audience, and anyone that has a question, you could post it in the chat, dear family. Sister Queen says, Assalamu alaikum. Please share Please share a little more about the proper B vitamins to take to help with mental clarity, metabolism, etc. And she says, thank you.
Oh boy. Well, this is kind of complicated because, B vitamins are hugely important. And this is really a huge cause of anxiety and mental health issues throughout our entire society. And the reason why is that the bacteria in your gut make B vitamins. And our microbiome in our gut, as many of us have heard, has been compromised by things like Roundup, glyphosate. Also, COVID, that virus actually destroys your microbiome. And so our gut bacteria are not making the B vitamins like we need. So we need to recover our gut bacteria because then that's when we end up with things like anxiety and brain fog and lack of energy, because they help with energy. So some people do find a supplement like a B complex supplement that could be helpful. It can be a little tricky because some people have sensitivities to some B vitamins when they're not made naturally in their body. But that is what some people do. When you ferment your bread, like I said, when you sour your bread, that does produce B vitamins. So that can be an important source. One of the reasons, some people have gone strictly vegetarian in the nation, and that's great. I think that that's where we're headed, where we need to go. One of the reasons I don't advocate everyone just get on that bandwagon is because one of the sources of B vitamins is meat. And in Eat to Live, it does say that the Black man eats beef. Now, we've been told beef is hard to digest. So I'm not here, again, there's nuance here, right? I love a steak, but I know I'm doing wrong when I go and eat one, right? But what we know is that if you need your B vitamins, or if you aren't getting enough protein, then if you're going to eat beef, then you need to stew it like as a pot roast or a stew and let it cook for many hours and break down. And so because I said your gut bacteria make B vitamins, well, guess who else's gut bacteria makes B vitamins? The cow, right? That's why the B vitamins are also in the butter or in the milk. Okay. And in butter and things like this, but maybe not as much as you need. But your B vitamins, beef is a very good source of B vitamins. And so if someone is having health problems, you could even take the bones or the beef and make a broth, and it would be high probably in B vitamins as well as collagen and other things that are needed. So one of my concerns in moving very quickly away from meat is because our systems are so depleted and our sources of milk are not good, and people are not souring their bread, and their microbiome is destroyed, that we are going to see a plethora of nutrient deficiencies. And the B vitamins are among the top ones that I am concerned about that have really, really deleterious effects on our health. So I don't know if that helped, but there it is.
Praise be to Allah. So we're not going to see you at Outback Steakhouse anytime soon.
I haven't gotten there in a while. I love a good steak. Again, I'll know I'm doing wrong. I'll be like, yeah, I'm eating that steak. And I think that this is where my goal is for all of us to change our habits.
Yes,
and incrementally change our habits to the things that we know we need to be doing, one rather than the other. And hopefully as we grow into this and recover our health more and more, if we had really good sources of milk, if all of our bread were fermented, all of those things, then, we might not need to eat the beef. And some people don't. Everyone's genetics is a little different, but I don't think that we should also judge people, because I've looked at some people's, workups and said, you're metabolizing your own protein, or you're not getting enough this or whatever. So it's definitely going to be an incremental process for us, because our food sources just aren't good enough right now.
Yes, ma'am. Well, this is a perfect segue to my question. So now, should we be concerned about drinking milk or eating cheese from cows that have been given natural or synthetic estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone? And what about cows that have been given what's known as RBST? Or it's so hard for me to pronounce this right here. I think
is that a form of recombinant human growth hormone? I can't remember, but
bovine.
I didn't even know they do that anymore. I thought they phased that out. I would say that conventional meat is poison. I mean, we got the cow from the people next door for years, and put it in the freezer. So they fed it a little grain, but we got to see it eat regular grass. So most conventional meat, and if you get organic, you're probably doing a step up. Most conventional meat is going to have a lot of endocrine disruptors, and it's going to be very hard on the female reproductive system, and probably be one of the sources of like fibroids and things like that. So, one way to avoid that is you can reduce your consumption of meat, or, at least go organic. or if you can do buy a quarter cow or a cow for cow. And that doesn't mean you need to be eating beef every day, because if you have a chest freezer, that'll last for years in there. So, but you can, I guess you don't need to be perfect. You can just keep making a better decision, right?
What about the milk and the cheese?
Yeah, as much as I can, I eat organic.
Yes, ma'am.
Not always, but as much as you can, just read the labels and look and see what the choices are. And then there are a lot of stores, like even Aldi, which has really low prices.
Right.
And I go to Costco, because Costco has a lot of organic things for reasonable prices. So I don't go as much now that I don't have a big family anymore, but that's where you can go to Aldi, because they have smaller sizes and still decent prices. So you just need to, and you don't have to do it all at once. Just go in. Today I'm going to get some cheese, and I'm going to actually read the labels and find a brand of cheese. And then you try it. Do you like it? And then, and that's what moms do. I mean, we read labels, at least I do, right? Until you find one that doesn't have all the junk. And if you're not sure if it does or not, go to one that looks healthier. You might not be perfect, but you're trying to make the best choice you can.
Beautiful advice. All right. We can't hear you, Sister Kalila. We see your lips moving, but we can't hear you.
You see it. Okay. So right. I'm just going to jump right into it. A lot of people are going to be mad at me, but they might be sad at me, but they might be glad at me. Why do we not eat shellfish?
Oh, I assumed nobody was eating shellfish, because that's biblical, right? So we don't eat shellfish or lobster, which, I might miss, and crab, which I might miss, because they're bottom feeders. And this goes for things like, and there's also fish like tilapia is a bottom feeder. Catfish is a bottom feeder. So all of these are just going to be filled with toxins and filth and pathogens, especially like oysters. And there's always people that get these terribly disgusting pathogenic diseases, but it's rare enough that people still think they're okay eating it. Like oysters, like, why does that even sound good? I mean, like, ew, and shrimp are among those bottom feeders. So like shrimp is extremely high in vitamin D, which is anti-inflammatory. But I think the reason might be is because it has so many toxins in it, it has to protect itself. Right. And it might be the same even for pork. Like lard is extremely high in vitamin D, but it might be because the pig is so toxic that it needs to make that much vitamin D to keep itself from dying. So yeah, those are all bottom feeders or filter feeders. And actually, like your mussels, your clams, your oysters actually filter filth and pathogens out of the water. They clean the water, and then they have all the filth concentrated in them. So yeah, we really, I knew that before I was in the nation, and, maybe I ate a crab here and there, but those filter feeders are really just going to introduce more toxins and possible pathogens to your body.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. My question is, please explain inflammation in the body. What is it? What causes it? And how does one prevent it?
Wow. This might be a whole nother show, but this is definitely my area. This is what I do all day, every day, is inflammation. So I am going to take this from the mitochondria. How many of you know what the mitochondria are? Raise your hand if you know what the mitochondria are. Okay, brother.
Nerds. I'm just kidding.
All right. So your mitochondria. Your mitochondria are these little organelles inside your cells. These little, they have their own DNA, and they make your energy. They take your food and convert it to energy.
Yes.
And when you fast, you actually help optimize your mitochondria, unless you're under such attack that yours just aren't, they're still struggling, which can be the case. So when you make energy, think about a power plant. If you have a coal plant and you put some coal in it, there's going to be some pollution that comes out. Your mitochondria are no different. They are way, way more efficient than any way that man can make energy. However, they do produce something called free radicals. So you can think of these as pollution, but I like to think of them as little bullets, like little, kind of like a little electrons that escape the mitochondria, and they damage anything they hit. They damage whatever DNA, whatever tissue, whatever, anything that they hit, they damage it. So let's say you have a protein that needs to do something. You have these proteins, they're called enzymes, that they do things. They're like little nanobots in common term.
Right.
And if they're hit by a couple of these bullets, a couple of these free radicals, that enzyme doesn't work. And then the cell actually has to break it down and rebuild it. It's like, oh, this one's not working. Oh, that one's not working either. No, that one's not working. I got to break all these down. I got to make all this new stuff. So you can see your body's going to get overwhelmed breaking down these proteins that have now been damaged, or tissues that have been damaged, and trying to make new ones, right? They're going to have all this garbage, all of these damaged proteins and tissues. So your body actually has a system for this. There's two enzymes called superoxide dismutase and catalase that work like little Pac-Mans that mop up the free radicals at a rate of more than 1 million free radicals per second.
Wow.
Per second. This is what your body is designed to do already. All right. But when those systems, there's two genes, one's called NRF2, and that gene system, it's a gene system, is your body's master antioxidant detox. And so fasting and things of that nature are going to turn it on. That turns on these enzymes that mop up free radicals. There's another gene system called NF-kappa B, and it is in charge of inflammation. It is turned on when your immune system is turned on. Okay. So I want to talk now about different sources of inflammation. The first source of inflammation is making energy. Making energy causes inflammation. Working out causes inflammation. Living causes inflammation.
Everything causes inflammation.
And I'm going to talk to some more exogenous ones, but I want to deal with this because I've seen some believers who want to boost their metabolism. Okay. What is metabolism? It is the making of energy in the mitochondria. If you eat more times a day, so imagine a coal plant and you put a little coal in and it's burning, it's kind of smoldering. And are you getting a lot of pollution? No, it's barely smoldering. Let's say you put some more coal in it. It gets hotter and hotter. It gets so hot, it is just burning through that coal. You can see everything gets red on the outside of the thing, right? It is hot. Your metabolism, are you going to burn a lot of coal? Yes. So if this is your body, you would burn a lot of food. You wouldn't get fat. But what are you doing? You are creating a ton of free radicals. And you don't even need all of that energy, right? You don't need all of the energy. So if you're eating like multiple times a day is one thing that and actually some people increase their caloric intake and they actually speed up their metabolism, and it actually helps them lose weight. It works at the expense of making more free radicals, which causes inflammation, which damages all their tissues, which ages them prematurely. One of the reasons that eating one meal a day or eating intermittently works is because it actually turns down your metabolism. So if you do eat to live and then you start cheating, guess what? You're going to get fat.
Right.
I'm just going to tell you. So if this has happened to you, you're like, that's what it was. I started, whatever. And so we want to, when we actually optimize making our energy, right, we can eat less and we'll produce less free radicals over time. And then that allows less tissue damage, and then we can live longer. Okay. So going back to causes of inflammation, I talked about that gene NF-kappa B. It's in your immune system. So anytime you have like, any kind of virus or bacteria, that's going to cause inflammation. It is. But guess what else can cause inflammation? If something leaks through your gut, you may have heard of leaky gut. Once your gut microbiome is compromised, your gut is compromised, bad foods leak through your gut, bacteria that are in your gut leak through your gut, they activate your immune system. And they activate it over and over again. The same thing can happen with dental health. If you have bacteria in your mouth, like an infection in your mouth that's chronic, it actually leaks into your bloodstream. And whether it comes from the gut or your oral health, it actually keeps activating your immune system, that NF-kappa B gene, which activates inflammation. And what inflammation is it's signaling cascades that tell immune cells to go through tissues, that cause the tissues to swell up. But at its root, as things are, it's the existence of damage to the tissues. It causes damage. And it is at its root most often caused by these free radicals. So toxins can cause damage that causes your body to make more free radicals. So when the body is not working efficiently, you have all of these free radicals and you have these inflammatory pathways activated. So at the root, you want to get down to the cell and have the cell balanced by turning its NRF2 gene up, NF-kappa B down, turning up these enzymes that mop up free radicals. So your body's already designed to do this. And so the question is, how can we support it in doing that?
My question is, does
Mike, sorry, technical.
Does inflammation affect the kidneys?
Oh, yeah, of course. And most kidney disease, if you can reduce the inflammation, you're going to reduce the amount of kidney disease. So almost all disease is inflammation. It's just inflammation in a different organ at a different time in a different way. Mm-hmm. So the question is, what of the source of inflammation? So one of the sources of inflammations that has not been talked about is viruses that were gotten through these different injections throughout the years, whether it was the polio one or whatever it was. And there are actually viruses that are in the prostate that are causing inflammation, and inflammation leads to cancer. So let me go back to the mitochondria, because the mitochondria has another really important function. And that is, it determines whether a cell actually, so let's say a cell is damaged by these free radicals, these little bullets that are hitting everything. The mitochondria has genes in it that say, or proteins in it that say, okay, I'm going to check the DNA. Yeah, there's some damage. We'll fix it. All right, I fixed it. And the next day, there's some damage. Okay, it's too much damage. I can't fix it. It says once there's too much damage in the cell, which is measured by the amount of these free radicals, these bullets, the cell tells itself to commit suicide. It says, you just need to take one for the team. This is really important, because when that cell makes that decision, and it's governed by the health of the mitochondria, right? And when it makes that decision, it culls the aberrant cells and makes things like cancer much less likely. When it has DNA damage and it doesn't get that signal to do itself off, to knock itself off, then you get cells that are damaged that somehow become aberrant, and eventually some of those are becoming cancerous or dysfunctional. And so that becomes inflammatory too, because those cells are no longer paying attention to the correct signals. So they're rogue and they're aberrant, and they didn't respond to the signal to basically commit suicide, or which we call apoptosis. Now we know that fasting increases the likelihood that they will commit apoptosis, any aberrant cells. However, if the mitochondria aren't working, then we can have a problem. So mitochondrial health is really important. So anyway, getting back to viruses, actually, like in the prostate, can generate inflammation and cause aberrant things in cells, and can drive prostate hyperplasia and cancer. And most doctors are not addressing this type of inflammation. So one of the things I try to help people do is figure out, what is the source of your inflammation? Is it leaky gut? Is it toxins in the body? In most cases it's a combination, but for some people there's one overriding thing. Like one person had an autoimmune disease. A friend of mine had a daughter with an autoimmune disease, lupus, and they found that from the vaccine program, she had gotten a particular very rare kind of herpes virus that most people hadn't heard of. They were actually able to treat it with medication in this case. When they got rid of that virus, all of her symptoms and her autoimmune disease went away. That specifically was the cause of her inflammation. Right? So Wi-Fi causes inflammation, right? So maybe in your house or where you live, because you have a antenna, maybe that's your major source. So something is damaging your body. Maybe it's because you're eating too many sunflower seeds, and that's the source of inflammation.
Sean, I hope you're listening to this.
Well,
Sean.
he is listening because he has a question, Sister. Yes, he has a question. Brother Sean, he asked the question. I was diagnosed with polymytosis.
Polymyositis.
Oh, thank you for that correction. But
I know it because I'm not that smart, but I hear it all the time.
Yeah, he spelled it wrong. But no treatment has been prescribed. Any recommended treatment?
So I would need to get with him specifically because, as I just said, for each person. So here's the thing. Each of us has different genetics. And whether it's from leaky gut or having a cell phone tower on the top of my building or whatever it is, each of us, our systems are going to break down differently, right? I'm going to get something different than you depending on my genetic predisposition and weakness. So first of all, when I talk to someone, I ask them questions to just try to identify where, is it like, and some people, like, you might not ask the right question. Did they work with something that had heavy metals when they were younger? So, is it a toxic load problem? Is it a Wi-Fi problem? Some people do genetic testing. So the thing is, the doctors never really try to get to the root cause. And we'll just say it here. I'm a consultant for a company that sells one of the best supplements for reducing inflammation because it activates that pathway that I'm talking about. It's natural and it activates that pathway. So that supplement has been shown to, many people have found it to walk back many different conditions, because when you reduce inflammation, the body is able to get on top of things. It's the body that heals itself, but you've got to stop, you've got to plug the hole so that the ship doesn't sink instead of just bailing out water. So when you reduce inflammation, almost everything gets better. And in many cases, the body will eventually be able to get on top of it. And if not, it will actually maintain a really good state as long as you're taking care of the inflammation. And then if you stop doing that, it'll build up again and you'll break at that same weak point that you have in your system. But I would say you need to figure out what the root cause is, because for almost all of these, its root cause and the manifestation just depends on your specific genetic predispositions.
So, Sean, we'll have a one-on-one with Dr. in the future. Praises be to Allah. We talked about how to eat to live, and like I said, these questions, you are just like not.
We've just begun to talk about eat to live. I could talk about eat to live all day.
Right. Listen, and it's a very simple question, Sister Christina. Why is How to Eat to Live book 1 and 2 important for our day-to-day lives?
Well, and this is where, again, I hope to, because I've read through it time and time and time again, and every time I see something a little different. It's a biochemical treatise. It is not a set of rules. So when I look at it, I see that we're not supposed to eat aged cheese. Well, that tells me he's concerned about histamine. We're not supposed to eat sardines in certain cans, but we can eat the fresh ones. That's a histamine issue. So he's saying histamine is something you need to be worried about. And so I know other reasons why histamine. And so I say, okay, because there's a lot of things like, that's what we're like, what do I worry about? I don't know. There's so much, right? There's him saying histamine is something you need to be worried about, right? So, the things that we're not supposed to eat, like mushrooms. Well, mushrooms have chitin in them, the same as yeast or mold or fungus. And so I'm like, what is it about chitin that's a problem? I don't know. I might need to research it. But it's very, very consistent such that I can draw biochemical principles from it. So we are scientists, And I think we can use it as a list of rules, but we need to take it a step further and look at those biochemical principles that are consistently through it, because those are going to allow us to deal with these gray areas that we're not so sure of, right? Where I'm like, okay, this told me histamine's an issue, and I know that this is a high histamine food, so you might want to avoid that. Or, when we're talking about breaking down our food, many of us, are still frying our food. We're frying our eggplant parmesan. Those proteins become indigestible when you fry them at high heat. I know that as a biochemist, right? And so they become like the pea protein that's hard to digest or whatever. So we need to, and this is why I hope to educate, take it this step further, because, and again, he's also talking about what we feed our mind. This is the next step to vitality. We are the flagship. When we walk out, we are the example. And are we an example of health and vitality? First, in our own lives, for our own health, but then to our friends and neighbors. If we're saying we have the answer, do we look like it? And so my goal is not to judge, but to come alongside so that I can help people tweak it so that they're getting the result that the book was intended to have, right? Or the material was intended to have, so that we can have optimal health and can verify that, yes, we do have the answer. And it's not just verifying it to the outside, it's verifying it to ourselves.
That's right.
We need our faith increased as well.
Right.
We've been so used to the world in the way that we do things. We really got to prove it to ourselves.
Yeah, and I started it right away because I didn't need to, I had studied food science for 20 years and done deep dives into it. And Sister Kalila is absolutely right. If I say something, I've done a deep dive. That doesn't mean I can never misspeak or get something wrong, and I will happily correct myself. But I rarely say something without 20,000 hours of study behind it. I mean, I've studied for a long time. So I spent all this time in food science to figure out what was true or not. And when I read Eat to Live, I could verify about 80% of it, which means that like the rest of it, I'm just going to take on faith that is correct. When somebody gets that much of something right, and the other stuff I just didn't know. It's not that I said it was wrong. I was like, I don't know, so I was like, okay, yes. And it was so consistent that it didn't leave me with there was nothing so glaring that I was like, I don't know, he's got that wrong. Like, there was nothing like that. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I know this is it. I know that this is the truth for that. And so it makes it really easy to follow, but I want other people to have that assurance. And again, if they are being compliant and they're not getting the results, it's because they think they're doing it right, but they're not.
Right. Absolutely.
Good teaching.
Absolutely.
Can I ask this is let's talk about snacks. Okay. We are a snack people. Even though we call ourselves How to Eat Delivers, we will eat a snack from time to time. Okay. From time to time. Guilty as charged. But let's talk about snacks. What are there any good snacks for us? Please break down what we should eat, or should, normally eat as a common snack. Like, for instance, I know you brought up potato chips, corn chips. You mentioned like, hey, I'll snatch it right out of your hand. Popcorn. I remember the minister was talking about a situation where he was eating popcorn and it went into his, was it his digestive system and had to go to the hospital?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And rice cakes, sunflower.
Yeah. So I want to address a few of these things. So they're all bad. They're all bad. They're all bad. So we've got to be making our own snacks. We could make our own crackers. I suggest, again, a fermented pita bread that we season and make it. We've really just got to start making our own snacks. So I do want to address most of the chips and things, and even the potatoes that are used for chips have all kinds of chemicals on them. Mm. And if you do get them, you get organic, get something maybe with an avocado oil that's made, and get something that's the least seasoned as possible, because those seasonings usually have things that are really bad for you in them. Anything that's puffed, and this goes for your cereal too, things like rice cakes or rice puff, all of those are extruded and the proteins in them are indigestible. Now, I'm not saying I don't eat them. I'm just saying don't eat them. Okay. Wow. Don't eat them. In fact, I did one day and my stomach was, I'm like, and and the more you eat right, the less you can tolerate it. I was like, I can't eat this. What am I doing to myself? Because I know. But you see how far you can get away with it. But I know, and I'm like, you're killing yourself. What are you doing? So anything that's puffed or extruded, like the Cheetos or the cheese puffs or the puffs in all kinds of different cereals, the rice cakes, those proteins are pretty much indigestible to your body.
Wow.
All right. So just don't do it. The reason, again, why we're not supposed to fry things, and these are whether it's either deep fried or it's extruded, it changes the protein, it denatures it, and that's what these deep frying things do. And so they make it almost indigestible to the body. So you don't really want to deep fry anything. The more water it has in it, the better it is. So like deep frying like a vegetable is less problematic than, say, meat, because the vegetable is mostly water. You can only get the temperature so high. Do you know what I mean? So you have the fried outer coating, but the inside of the vegetable is still probably somewhat digestible. But most of these snacks are not going to be digestible. So maybe crackers might be okay. But again, a lot of times they're going to be high in those seed oils. And because we snack so much, it's really a problem. Yeah, so we need to maybe fruit. Fruit is a great snack. I know I crave things that are crunchy and salty. But again, a piece of bread with some butter is a great snack. A piece of sourdough bread with a little butter and a little salt. And if you cut it up and you toast it, then that's compliant. If you take your sourdough pita and make pita chips, you can do that. So I imagine we could probably do something like with some pretzels or some things like that as well. So I would really love to see a couple of companies pop up that sell some compliant snacks.
It's so funny. I know when I was a child and my mom used to always be, and it wasn't, my mom didn't buy us snacks. I mean, because I was born in a nation, so she didn't play that.
She was good.
She did not play no snacks. It was no snack day. It was like, no, you're not buying snacks. Well, you're not bringing that stuff in here. But what she used to do for our snack is she used to toast some bread and put applesauce on it. Mm-hmm. And we ate the toasted bread with applesauce. It was so good. I was like,
even do. I mean, here's the thing: you could do toasted bread with cinnamon and sugar, because honestly, the amount of cinnamon and sugar that you're putting on the bread is minuscule compared to the amount of sugar that's in these processed snacks.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. And it brought me to, what we used to eat back in the days and how our, it was like, oh, Mom making toast. You could smell it, throughout the house. She finna make some toast. And right now to this day, I love me a good, applesauce with anything. I could eat applesauce with anything.
Here's what I want to talk about with the snacks. And this is especially important for kids. We have gotten away from things like pudding as being unhealthy. So if you are making desserts, you can make things with whipped cream. You can make things with pudding. You can make even a keto with all kinds of egg yolks. Egg yolks are good for you. So especially for our growing children, those healthy fats. So you put some milk, some sugar, some egg yolks, or some eggs in there, and some butter. That is highly nutritious. And we've been told that it's not. And so people like, did you make pudding out of the little boxes, the Jello, boxes? But like people actually used to make real pudding where they took the milk and put the butter in it, and they
Right.
So I want to say, going back to some of those desserts, you can make a lemon curd with that same kind of thing with real lemons. And so that kind of thing is actually, there's a misinformation that that's bad for you. And I want to say that kind of thing, pudding with some whipped cream on it, is actually, it has a little bit of sugar in it, but that's okay because it has those healthy fats, is the kind of dessert rather than the high carbohydrate cookies and crackers. It's actually a much healthier dessert. It's going to be more filling, and it's actually going to be more nutritious. Now, if you're 50 and you're eating a ton of it a day, you might get fat, but I'm really talking about how to have nutritious desserts for our children and our growing families.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. Well, let me see. Listen,
Looks like we lost Brother Mark. It's past his bedtime.
Listen, okay, so one quick one, again, something that you brung up. Should we eat meat or should we not eat meat? What have you, gleaned from both, volumes of how to eat to live, based off of meat? Because we have a lot of people that still eat meat. I mean, I haven't ate meat. Oh my God. I really stopped counting, but I stopped eating meat when I was 27. Yeah, I stopped eating meat when I was 27. So I'll be 50 next year.
So it's really going to depend on you and your biochemistry. Meat is permissible. I do believe that we will move to a place where it is not necessary, but I would say that it's possible to be necessary for some people. And especially if you're pregnant and you need iron and hemoglobin, it's going to be much more absorbable through meat. So you really need to have optimal quality milk, optimal quality dairy products, and optimal quality eggs in order not to eat meat. Some people's biochemistry can get away with not doing it, but I would be really hesitant to move completely away from meat for children while they're building it, because if they have certain genetic variants where they don't make the B vitamins as much, or their microbiome is compromised, you're getting into really a threshold where they may not be getting their nutrients. Now, that said, then the quality of the meat really matters. And making maybe like a bone broth, making soup where you don't actually need as much meat because you're making it from organic parts, right? And you're cooking them long so that the meat that you are eating is as nutritious as possible and as absorbable as possible. So you're making that pot roast or that stew where it cooks for 6 or 8 hours and very, very absorbable. So we really have to look at, instead of a do or don't, really, because when you look at it, it says, well, if you're going to eat cornbread, because he knew some people may not have a choice, ferment it 2 or 3 times and put garlic and onions in it, right? So there were specific biochemical reasons why he said that. And he said the same for me. He said that you need to stew it. So I would prefer beef over chicken. Obviously, you can eat salmon, but I would caution against eating too much fish because you can get heavy metal toxicity. So there, I would keep a little bit more variety, but do be careful on how you prepare it. And like, again, broth. And there are reports I've heard, I can't confirm, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did do a broth, like a bone broth. Broth is extremely protein sparing and has collagen. I'm also concerned that we're not getting enough collagen. And this is all because we're under attack. If we could control everything, the diet would be sufficient, but we can't right now. We're getting our food from the system. So I do have concerns that we don't want to judge people and then have them be deficient, especially our young people are growing if they're not getting the nutrients that they need. So, lamb, obviously, it's just not as widely available. So I would stick with those red meats, but limited, highest quality you can get, cooked for a long time to make them extremely digestible and absorbable. I mean, I do eat chicken, but I don't eat very much. And then if you're eating fish, your fatty fish like salmon are great because of the omega-3s. But, people can get heavy metal toxicity by eating too much fish fairly quickly. So do be aware of that, and don't eat Atlantic salmon. It's farmed.
So what about, if you're like, because I don't eat meat, my daughter, I raised my daughter not eating meat.
I think it's a concern because you started not eating meat as an adult, right?
Right.
And so many children, it really depends on their genetics and the stressors in their environment on how well they're going to do with that. And so I would say, making sure that they have high quality protein in terms of milk and eggs is extremely important. Plant proteins are not sufficient. That is why we are not vegetarian. Plant fats are not sufficient in our current state, right? The navy bean does have some fats that other beans and other vegetables do not have. So it's an excellent food. Some people, that's going to be enough. See, some people's bodies will make what they need easier than others, and others will need to get it. So, I mean, I think it's a wise idea to, intermittently, once a week, a couple times a month, do a broth, do a fish, do whatever. That would be my choice. Each person has to go before God. Like if God calls you not to eat meat, I'm not going to argue with you. Like,
right. But she does eat fish. I mean, she does eat fish, but as far as like chicken or beef or anything like that.
Too is that many people, when they get on a particular diet, they eat a very limited selections of the same foods. And like with the sunflower seeds, if there's something problematic about it, it could be that the fish is okay, but maybe fish have too many heavy metals, right? So when they repeat eating the same food over and over again, if there is a problem with it, it's not the food type, it's our current toxic environment, then they are more likely to have a problem with that. So I would rather see a little bit of mixed up, a little bit more variation until we control our own food supply. Now, this is my opinion. It's not that eat to live is wrong. It's just that everything is toxic. And so by having a little more variation in your diet, you can avoid any toxicity that you're not aware of in one particular product that you might be eating over and over and over again.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did say that there's very little pure food left.
Right. So like if we had pure food, that I believe the diet, especially good quality milk, the diet would be absolutely sufficient. That's right. But I do have concerns because, again, like the B vitamins are made in your gut. So, and you can see a lot of times if you offer a child something, you can see how they take to it. I remember my brother used to crawl on the table and scoop up butter and eat it.
So, my daughter does that.
That means they need it. They need that fat.
Really? I used to be like, girl, stop eating that stuff like that.
That's telling you the brain needs that fat. Butter is one of the healthiest fats that you can have.
Look at that.
Wow. He used to have to hide it, literally. That is amazing. That's amazing. So can we go into, and again, this is just my ignorance, but can we go into the fermentation in regards to when you say fermenting your breads and things of that nature? What is that process?
Like, how would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so just to give you, all bread used to be fermented. And then to make the process a little quicker, they actually added sugar to it and added yeast. And the yeast actually break down the sugar, not the bread, to make the little bubbles that make your bread rise.
Right.
And so it used to just be these bacteria and yeast from the environment that was called a sourdough. And you'd add a little bit of it to your the batter that you made for your bread. and then you would kind of mix it in and let it sit. And then you would kind of knead it and let it sit again. And so really what you need is a sourdough starter. There are companies like Cultures for Health that you buy a freeze-dried starter, you add it to some water, you add it to all you need for bread is the flour, water, salt, and the starter. And then the starter you keep in the refrigerator. We'd have to do a whole show on that to kind of talk through it. And I'm teaching people how to do it.
We are going to bring you back.
We got to bring you back.
That's
but it's the way bread used to be made before we sort of short-circuited the process.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, we got to bring you back for part 3, because again, we could, like you said, we could talk about this all day, and we could talk about this all day. And I love talking about it because you make because I want it, you make my living so intentional in regards to things I do now versus,
well, it's a rule, but how important is it really? I don't know. That's the thing.
Right. Well, the thing is, I want to live. So it's
well, I know. And the thing is, we just have so much coming at us every day that we just don't know how to prioritize.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree. I totally agree. So with that being said, we're going to definitely close this segment.
We thank you.
Listen, we overly thank you. And we have to bring you back for part 3. But do you have any closing remarks?
Well, I just want to go right back at you and thank you, because being able to tell people everything that I've studied and have them take it and start living intentionally and making changes in their life is a gift to me. When you have knowledge and nobody wants it, that can help people save their lives.
Right.
It's overwhelming. It's like a calling with nowhere to go. So I am very, very blessed by you. And that's why I take the time for this. I am very busy, but this is hugely important because anything, and again, we are a seed, and it is. So when I, pour into the people in my own mosque that are around me, when I pour into them, I know that they are starting new traditions because you eat what your mom makes. And then they eat do you know what I mean? And so we have to start the traditions that people are just going to do it because they see you doing it, and they'll figure out whether it was right or wrong later.
Right.
And so we want to be the person that does it intentionally and is the seed for actually a whole new culture of doing it right as much as we are possible. Right.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. With that being said, I am going to turn it over to you, Brother Tony.
Well, Dr. Christina, how can people stay in touch with you, and how can they support you?
Oh, yes. So if you want to support me, join my website where I have things on diabetes, on oils, on cancer, and it's vi-ta.org, vi-ta.org. Go ahead and become a member, and I've got all sorts of presentations because this is where I put the information at $13 a month so that you can live. I mean, this is my whole goal. I'm not just charging $13 a month. It's so much information. It's because I want people to access it. So you can also reach me on my social media. I'm Christina Parks on Facebook, and that's the best place to message me is Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Epigenetic Healing, and I'm Dr. C. Parks 1 on Twitter, on X.
All praise due to Allah.
All right.
And there we go. That's all your information right there. Please support our sister. We are like the aliens on Toy Story. We are eternally grateful. Yes, I have children. I watch movies like that. Anyway.
And Brother Tony?
Yes, and if you have benefited from this program here tonight and any of our programs that you have watched, you've tuned in, we need your support. We thank you for anything that you're able to give. This is our Cash App for For those of us who have Cash App, you can support us by making a Cash App donation to 7th Region Coalition 29. That's 7th Region Coalition 29. Don't forget the little $. Anything will be greatly appreciated. Yes, this is a labor of love from ourselves, devoted to this cause. But of course, we have expenses just like everybody else. The streaming service that we use, they don't tell us, "Oh, you guys are about saving lives." Oh, that is so nice. We're just gonna let you stream for free. No, we have expenses just like everybody else, and you help us defray many of those costs with your donations. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you for whatever you're able to give tonight or whenever you're able to. We thank you. May Allah God continue to bless you all and your families.
All right.
And we like totally lost Brother Mark.
Yes.
He gets up at 5 a.m. every morning. So you know he's
we all get up at 5 a.m. every morning. Yeah. Well, he gets up at like 4:30.
Yeah.
Because he has to put on the actual broadcast.
Yeah, the whole. I mean, he's like they're all relying on him.
Right.
Like, he of course, and do a prayer and go back to bed.
The prayer service that you're talking about is let's advertise that.
The Fajr prayer line.
The Fajr prayer line.
Yes.
Oh, we're still live. Yeah.
We are still live.
Okay, the Fajr prayer line. Yeah, absolutely beautiful show. So he's got to be, up and with it, not just
Well, speaking about how to eat to live, we are going to be talking about it some more. As to how we're going to be talking about it, which we want you to tune in next week. So, dear family, thank you for tuning in. May Allah God continue to bless you all and your families. Assalamu alaikum.